Today's video, I got 8 items on my list we're going to talk about just when it comes to either starting selling online, eBay, or otherwise. Or if you already have a store, some things I think that will help maybe increase sales, maybe get you headed down the right track, or maybe you know what you're doing and don't need to hear any of this. So here they are. First thing I think you should do is start a company. Now, you don't have to start a company. You can sell online as an individual. Um, there are many tax reasons and protections why you should have a company. You speak to your lawyer and speak to your tax professional about that stuff. I'm not going to give that advice here. The other thing is, it's great to keep those money separate, your business money and your personal money separate. So you get a company, go open a bank account, and you can keep that money separate. You know where every dollar in your business is going, every dollar in your personal life is going. It's just clean, it's nice, it's easy for tax time. And like I said, depending on, what kind of company you form, depending on your tax breaks, I guess you could say, how you'll be taxed, all that different stuff. Also, I think psychologically it'll make you feel more professional maybe. Um, you have a company and you want to grow that company. It's not just this little thing you're doing by yourself. Because even if you're listing one a day, it's a big deal. You're doing more than a lot of other people by starting a little side business or a full-time business. So um, that's number one. Number two, figure out what to list. So what do you want to sell? Maybe there's something you enjoy selling, like jewelry or toys or clothing or cards that are popping up on the screen, or shoes, or whatever the case may be. And then figure out, do you have easy access to get that item? Can you get baseball cards or cards like are being shown on the screen? Can you get shoes? Can you get electronics? Can you get whatever it is you think you want to sell? Can you get that, and not just once, but multiple times? Can you sustain this business or this sourcing opportunity for years to come, and not just a year, talking years to come, because you want to build this business up and you want to be successful. The next thing is you got to find out what sells. So let's just say I sell clothing. Okay. So we're just going to go a Ralph Lauren men's polo shirt. Okay. So this is 90 days. So remember, keep in back in your mind 90 days. Right now it's saying there's 310,000 that are listed. Okay. We're going to go used or pre-owned because that's just what we do. So 268,000, even though it says 250, it's 268,000. Just put that in there. Okay. Now you want to come down here and see what's sold. 95,000. Okay. So 95,000 divided by 268. This has a 35% sell-through rate on Ralph Lauren men's polo. Is that good or bad? Well, that means if I have one to list, right? Well, let's start here. This is 0.35, so it's 35%. That's over 3 months. So you would divide by 3. Now your monthly rate is a beautiful number of 11.6s and 7. So we'll say the monthly sell-through rate is 11.67. What does that mean? It's going to take a little over 9 months, or I'm sorry, a little over 10 months, right, for your item to sell. 10 times 11 is 110. Technically 116, right? So this is saying it's a little more than, or I'm sorry, yeah, just a little more than 10 months, right? Because 10% are selling a month. 10 times 10 is 100. So it's going to take you almost 10 months to sell your shirt. That's a long time to put $4 out and get 13 back, 15 back. That's a long time to wait. So the 90-day sell-through rate on these is not too high. Now, this is where it can get tricky. So, especially with Ralph Lauren, right? Because there is a bunch of, like, look at this one. This one's crested, has a big pony. This is the double pony. It went for 34. Okay, so now we're talking a higher rate. So you would go in here, you'd click off sold. Uh, let's type in double pony. Okay. So now let's see, there's going to be way less, 433, 124. So did it change? It did change. So now it's almost, oh no, I'm sorry. Let's just big. It was 28.6. Sorry, it was 35.4 because there was more. But these will go for a higher price, even though they're going for 750. Some people, even though this guy's top rated plus, I mean, you can see it was $29.99. He just couldn't get anyone to buy it for whatever reason. But these do sell for a higher amount. So my point is this. There are ways within brands and items to increase the sell-through rate. So this is why you have to figure out what sells, how long it sells, and how much you can get for it. That way you'll know, okay, can I go down this avenue? And once you start to see and research these brands, and this could take 6 months, could take a year. Once you start to learn the brands within whatever category it is you're going to sell in, that's when you really start to make the money. So if you can do the research up front, you will see the results later. It may spend a long time. It may be 6 months before you list your first item, before you even buy an item, but hopefully not. Hopefully you can do it sooner. But trust me, it's way better to do it now than it is later. Okay. So I made the mistake of not understanding this concept I'm showing right now with sell-through rates, and it got me into a bad position. All right, number 4. How much can you afford to buy? You got to know your numbers. So this ties into just what we were talking about. Now, what are you starting with $10 and that's it? Are you starting by listing stuff that you're trying to get rid of that's yours or your wife's or your husband's or whoever's? Maybe friends have donated just to help you start your small business. Whatever the case may be, how much money do you have to put into this business? Because that's going to dictate, how things start in the beginning. Now, if you've started tons of businesses, you understand business, maybe you've already sold stuff online, maybe you haven't, I don't know. But if you haven't, I would recommend starting really, really slow. And by that, I mean, don't be afraid to just list one item per day. I think that's great to do in the beginning because, one, if you list one item a day, you only need to find 31 items a month for the whole month. That's pretty easy to do in most cities and towns. Most people can find that much. They can find it for pretty cheap. Um, you know, you could do it for less than $100. So you can keep your overhead, which is really nice in this business. Overhead is super low. Excuse me, as you grow, it goes up. Maybe you get a warehouse or some employees, things like that. It can go up. But in the beginning, like I work out of my basement, my overhead is super cheap. So it's nice to start slow, and then you can start to learn how this whole eBay thing works, and then you can slowly ramp up. So how fast should you ramp up? Well, if you're listing one per day and selling three per day, probably should ramp up, right? So that's what I mean when I say, excuse me, you got to know your numbers. You have to know how much profit you're making per item. You have to know how much money you have in your bank. You have to know how much eBay fees are costing you, shipping's costing you, your buy cost of goods, plastic bags, the poly mailer. You have to know all that stuff. You know, once you know all that stuff, then you'll be able to move forward better. So in the beginning, it's really, really good to know your numbers. And then once you learn them, you're going to know them. You're going to know, oh, that was $25. Okay, I made 17, or I made, 12 or whatever. You're going to have a pretty good idea of what your numbers are after you do this for a while. So with knowing your numbers, you'll know how much to list and when to grow. And like I say, grow slow. You don't want to just think you're going to go from one item a day to 7 and then to 15 and then to 40 listings per day. That's not the way to do it. It's better to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you get to 5 and you've learned some stuff, depending on how you're growing, maybe then you go to 10 or 9 or 8 or something. But you got to realize that Like for me, my buy cost is $6. So if I have a buy cost of $6 and I want to go from five, let's just say to nine. All right, so that's number four. Another four items per day times $31. That's $744 a month. So increasing by four doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 750 bucks, we'll say, plus the time to source that more, process it, photograph it, right? Um, Not that it's going to take that long for me to do that stuff, but it's still time that it is taking. So I have to look and say, that's $750. Where's that money going to come from? Now, am I already making enough money to afford to go out and buy that four extra? Or is my math saying, no, you can only go do one? So that's why you really got to know your numbers, and then you'll be able to know how to grow. Um, that's with number five. Number six, find out where to buy items. So let's look here. This CC Filson's, I've yet to find one. Excuse me, I've yet to find one. I've been doing this 3.5 years. I haven't found one. I know people that have found them, but these items are hard to find. They go for good money and they sell really quick. Whereas the last item, I can go into any thrift store in America and find this item all day long. You know, now some of these, like maybe this one, I won't find. It's a little more rare, but your typical Polo Ralph Lauren shirt. This is interesting. I've never seen this private listing. I don't know what that means. Anyways, um, so you got to know, okay, the items that I like to list. Because look, let's just say this shirt is worth 180 bucks. Well, it's listed for that. Let's just say it is worth 180 bucks, right? We all would love to find a shirt like that, but you're not going to. So don't go out there thinking, oh, I'm going to find, I want to list, new attack Polo Ralph Lauren men's equestrian polo shirt. That's not going to happen. You're not going to find those unless you have sources and all that stuff. So you have to know, A, what am I going to list? And B, can I find that item? So you got to keep that stuff in mind. Not just say, oh, I want to list, what was it? CC Filson shirt. That's right. A CC Filson shirt. It's just not going to happen. All right, number seven, your storage system. So how are you going to store your items? If you can see behind me, I have these boxes. They're 30 long, 8 wide, 8 high, okay? So 38 by 8. And these are in sequential numbers, right, in little plastic bags. I can fit in my basement probably close to 25,000 items. This is all clothing. Okay, so you have to just think ahead. If you're doing glassware, that's going to take up a lot more room than clothes, right? Or if you're doing car parts, that's going to take more room than clothes. But if you're doing baseball cards, you could probably fit, I don't even know how many baseball cards on just one shelf and just one box. So you got to think ahead. You got to think about what do I have room for? What kind of items do I want to do? How am I going to store those items? Am I going to put them in bins? I used to have everything in bins, takes up a lot of room. It's not a horrible system. I reused my SKUs. I never had any issues with that. Takes up a lot of room. My basement used to be full of shelves to hold all that stuff. So you got to figure out what's it going to be like to maximize, or how am I going to maximize my storage? What is it that I want to sell? Now, don't be afraid to go into something you know nothing about. I knew nothing about men's and women's clothing before I went into it. I had no idea. I didn't know what seersucker was. I didn't know button down, button up, raglan sleeve. I didn't know fabrics. I didn't know styles. I didn't know brands. I didn't know anything. I just knew what I like to wear, which is pretty simple. Give me a t-shirt and some jeans. I'm good. In the wintertime, I wear a long sleeve shirt and a hoodie. So, it didn't really matter to me. But now I don't want to I want you to think I know everything, but I know a lot more about clothes, especially women's clothes, than I ever wanted to know. So don't be afraid to dig into a category that you never thought, but you're like, man, I can get a lot of that. Let me see if I can learn it. I guarantee you can if you put your mind to it. All right, the last one is your processes. So I changed my photo process. You can see it over my shoulder here. See the pair of jeans. I have to look over here because that's where my software is for my recording. So I'm pointing to the pair of jeans, okay? When I went to this system, and this is like an inverted flat lay, obviously, I don't want to do flat lay on the ground because my back, I will not be able to walk the next day, right? It kills me. And some people say, oh, it's not any more bending over. Well, you're high because it's a lot more bending over than doing it like that. It's a way easier on the back. Um, so when I went from this system to my old system, which was hanging up, now I still have a hanger right here and a background because coats and some bigger items I still do have to do on a hanger. But my point is this. I changed my process from the hanging up to the inverted flat lay. I decreased my time to do photos. What was it, about like 70% or something? So I can take photos of an item in about a minute, minute and a half. Um, some people can do it in like 30 seconds. I don't know how, but they just can. Uh, I don't. There's something about how it's laid out. It's easier. Um, so that's one process that I cut down. Listing, right? Going through and doing drafts. As you get your store, like let's say you have one of these shirts right here, the CC Filson men's size large vintage long sleeve button down selvage shirt or beige. Why did I say selvage? I think it's really weird that they don't have shirt anywhere in here until the very last word. But it still sold, but it didn't sell for very much. Anyways, so once, like, let's say we have this item in our store or something similar to it. Let's say we have just a regular button down shirt, but it's not CC Filson. You can still sell similar off of this. Once you start to build up your store, that process of listing and doing drafts will get faster. One, you'll learn how to do it better. Two, you have more items in your store you can sell off of, and they'll be good quality listings. Okay. Your shipping process. The more you ship, the better you'll get at it. Your storage process of putting the items away. Do you put them away every day, once a week? What do you do? Um, how you're going to source, your process for sourcing, process for prepping your items, you're washing your items, all these little things. And again, if you're brand new, haven't started, excuse me, um, you're not going to know until you try. I kid you not. I would do 5 listings a day when I first started, and it would take me almost all day just to do 5 listings because one, I didn't know how to do it. Two, I would do things like edit the background, take it out, make it all white. I had all these different things that were not necessary that I did. I was listing them in the bedroom on a table. I had to take it up, set it down every night. I had one light. I mean, it was just crazy, but you got to start somewhere, right? We all start somewhere. I think personally, a bed is a much better place if you have a nice bedspread or comforter, or even this is just indoor outdoor carpet at Home Depot, Lowe's. It's not very expensive, maybe 25 bucks. You could lay that over your bed. Um, you can find different ways to get creative to save money. You could do it on your phone. I have a camera now. I don't like doing it on my phone, it's too slow. But if that's all you have, it'll work. You can still make millions of dollars using your phone. It's just not as fast. So you have to start thinking about all your processes and even, run through, hey, where am I going to have my photo station? How should I do my photos? Get on here and look. Look at this photo. It's not very great. It looks like maybe it's on carpet. This one is on a nice, it's probably laminate flooring. This one is hung up. This one is hung up, but here's a good example of how I used to do mine. You see what happens here? You see how the hanger's not big enough? And so you can't really see the sleeves. They just droop down like that. Which size is this? This is a medium. So this is a really small hanger to not be able to do a men's medium. Now, I did go out and I bought off Amazon these hangers that extend, so it is better. This is not my listing, by the way. But so you can see how that looks. It's not great. Now this is better. This is a bigger hanger, you can tell. Plus it's short sleeve, so that helps too. This is a 2XL, and look, the sleeves are pretty good. So you have to start thinking and going through here and looking at picture ideas. Now this one looks really good. I think this is a good. Now see, excuse me, he has a lot of measurements. Shirt's wrinkled as all hell. But look at this measurement, okay? See how I had to click on it and then guess that it's 28 and a half? And it's folded up right here, so it's actually probably only a 28. It's folded up right there. Now these are little details. So you don't want the customer to have to click because people are going through like this and they're on their phone. So take this measurement or this picture. Your next picture should be zoomed in on this. This could be your next picture and then moved in here, zoomed in here. Pit's pit. Again, this thing is all wonky because it's been folded. He probably folds it up at night. These are the little things that people are going to look at. So where's this measurement even taken from? Now it's 30 and a half, close to 31. Right, you're just going to assume it's taken from the very bottom of the shirt, bottom hem, but you don't know. Same with this. Is it from the arm cuff? Yeah, probably. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just telling you, when we're talking about processes, you got to think what kind of missing a button. So it's missing a button. Here's your pre-owned. Hello? Why isn't that doing anything? So this does not say, says there's stains on back. Doesn't say it's missing a button. So that's, I could buy this shirt, return it, it's a 9 ad. You didn't say it's missing a button. You pictured it, but you didn't say. And eBay's going to side with the buyer. So it's stupid things like that will kill your account. But maybe this person doesn't care. Well, they have 1977 feedback, so they've probably been around a while. I'm not trying to dog them. I'm just saying you gotta be aware of these things, and you'll learn. So just go through and look at whatever you're trying to list. Like, come in here and list car parts. Now look at how different these pictures are. Oh, model cars. So let's do actual car parts. Let's say we want a muffler and auto parts and accessories. And let's find one used. And this is just to give you an idea. So go through, figure out what you think looks best. Does blue look best? Does that look best? Does on the garage floor look best? I don't know. You guys get the point. So again, just to recap, my suggestion is start a company, figure out what to list, what do you like to sell or have easy access to, find out what sells, that 90-day sell-through rate. Make sure you do that exercise. Make sure you know your numbers. You got to know, how much you can afford. You need to keep in mind how much to list, that you want to grow slow. You don't want to just go too fast. You got to figure out where you're going to buy these items. You got to have a good storage system, and then your processes, things we're looking at here. So I know this is kind of a long video, but I think it's important. I hope some other people find it helpful. And yeah, I appreciate you guys stopping by. I do have a daily vlog if you're interested. Check that out. If not, have a good day. See you next time.